Hello, everyone. Welcome to the very first episode of Advancius Behind the Blocks. My name is Quinn, and I am your friendly neighborhood media manager. We know a lot of you have been asking for more transparency about how things work, why decisions are made, and what the future of the server really looks like. So today, I'm here with Monkeyboys, the founder, the myth, and the one who's kept the server going through everything. Monkey, thanks so much for sitting down with me. I know the community has been waiting for something like this.
Thanks, Quinn. Yeah, good to be here. For the people who don't know me, hello, I'm Monkeyboys. I'm the owner, like Quinn said. You can just call me Monkey, though. I'm excited to, answer some people's questions and hopefully share some more about what goes on behind the scenes with the server.
Exactly. And I think a lot of players just want to understand the why behind things. Even if they don't agree, it means a lot when they feel heard and informed.
Yeah, I agree. I think people in the community are kind of what makes Advancius special and fun for so many people. So I'm glad that I can help answer some questions about it.
Well, we've got some really good starter questions today, from server history to what's coming up next. We're pulling back the curtain just a bit to let the community in. So let's get into the first question. Let's get started with a few questions about you. Who is Monkeyboys, and what do you do when you're not online?
Yeah, I'm the owner. Like I already said, I've been running Advancius for 7, almost 8 years at this point. We started back in 2018. And actually before Advancius, I owned a different server called Monkeycraft. Shout out to any of the Monkeycraft people if you're watching. Yeah, and I started playing Minecraft though pretty close to 15 years ago at this point. So I've been playing Minecraft for a long time. Don't really play any other video games though, outside of that, or really any other servers. But I guess in my real life, I have a real, job. I work as a software engineer outside of the server and stuff. So I don't do this full time, which is kind of unusual for probably a server as big as Advancius. But since we're not pay to win, I can't really make this my full-time job. Yeah, I guess other than that though, I like, doing kind of normal mid-20s guy things. Like I like running, I like hanging out with friends and family and girlfriend. Yeah, that's pretty much it though.
That makes a lot of sense. So what is your favorite thing to come from starting Advancius?
I mean, there's a lot of awesome things that have come out of Advancius. I'd say like the people or the relationships and friendships that people have made is really cool to see.
Yeah.
I love seeing like the sub communities. I mean, you probably know a lot of the sub communities, Quinn, about like all the different people who work together in different teams on the different game modes and like having common interests. Really cool to see. And then the content creators and videos that get made that media managers know about. That's really cool.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and then just like the staff. I mean, we have a great staff team. So seeing all of the staff working and motivated, I guess, to make the server better is really cool to see. So yeah, and it's just nice that I think the server has helped some people have some fun or just have a better day or make some friends. That's really cool.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think that we have a really awesome community, and like the staff all together just combined makes really great like presence in the server. So I totally agree. Moving on, what is your main motivator for continuing to work on Advancius?
I'd say the community support that we get. I mean, we get a lot of people, sometimes like hundreds of people or thousands, that are interested in what we're doing.
Yeah.
And so I think that's probably my main motivator is, helping a lot of people have a better time.
I think that's definitely a good motivation to have too, allowing people to, come together and have fun. Does that make sense? That being said, did you ever think of a time of just walking away?
Yep. You know what? Yes, definitely. In the past, not really much at this point, I think. But yeah, in the past, I mean, I think nowadays I kind of make it look easy, but definitely there was years of struggling to get things working, either just technically, with like coding or whatever, but also staff management and advertising and the money aspect of it. And there's so many facets to the server and a lot of issues that people run into. There's a reason why there's not very many servers as big as Advancius. So yeah.
Well, yeah, and you have to definitely wear a lot of hats, when you're, managing a server. So that makes a lot of sense. And you got to start somewhere, right? So that makes sense. What inspired the creation of Advancius? And how do you decide what new content to add?
I'd say just having a place for people to just have a welcoming and positive community, I think was a big one. I think also, I like having people enjoy things that I've made. That is like a really gratifying feeling. And, also I wanted to make a server that had all the same features that like other pay to win servers have, but not make it pay to win, just to, show people they don't have to like play pay to win servers.
Yeah.
And then I guess for like how we decide new content to add, for years, we were mostly just trying to catch up to like the other big servers in terms of like what kind of content they have and what features they have. But at this point, we kind of caught up to everything that I'd really want to add. So mainly at this point, we're focusing on maintainability. And what I mean by that is like making it easier for us to keep things going strong with, all the things that we need to do, but having to spend less time and effort on it because, I'm only one guy and our staff team is, all volunteers and pretty small team relative to the thousands of players. So yeah, I mean, just like for an example, like we get on average 20 tickets a day. And, those tickets can take up from like anywhere from 5 minutes to an hour each.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, just doing tickets is, hours potentially a day. And that's also excluding all the other things like appeals and applications and social media and advertising and, actually making new features that people want to see, handling suggestions, just, whatever, dealing with whatever drama or something that happens. So yeah, so we're trying to focus on making things, I guess, that are going to make it easier for us to add new content in the future, making it easier for us to manage whenever Minecraft has an update, like from Mojang, and then also making it easier for us to have like a better compatible network to prevent, bugs, I guess, coming up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that makes a lot of sense. There's definitely a lot of things that happen behind the scenes that's more than just like the gameplay of Minecraft. So I think kind of the point of this whole, video is to kind of show what's behind the curtains and explain like all of these additional things that people may not have even considered or even known that this existed. So yeah, that's definitely, it's a lot of work. Did you expect the server to grow like this back then when you started?
No, I don't think so. I was never expecting it to get this big. I mean, I remember back 2019, we'd been running the server for like a year at that point, and we'd gotten like the most players we'd ever gotten in like a month, which was like 800 new players for the entire month. So like these days, we'll get 800 players in like a few hours sometimes. So definitely not expected, but very, very cool.
And then what were some of the first features or game modes that you built that you are still proud of to this day?
I'd say the main one, at least out of the old features, I think these days I'm actually more proud of like the new stuff that we have coming out. But at least for the old stuff, I'd probably say the rank point system that we have is probably the most thing I'd be most proud of. Yeah, because there wasn't really like, at least back in those days, there wasn't really any servers other than maybe like Hypixel that had like a global leveling system like that, that actually would give like perks for leveling up. So yeah, I thought that was a really cool one.
Well, yeah, and
definitely helped us grow.
I think for sure, yeah, it's definitely something that still people talk about rank points on a daily basis. So that makes a lot of sense. I definitely feel like that's something to be proud of for sure. Moving on to the next question, and here's one that gets a bit personal. What has been the most difficult aspect you faced from a server management perspective, whether that's on the back end or with staff management?
Yeah, I think, I mean, I kind of mentioned it before, but there's a lot of stuff that goes into the server. I'd say, I mean, out of like backend or or staff management, both of them are pretty tough. Different ways though. Staff management, I think probably the toughest aspect is that everyone is all remote. We're kind of scattered all over the world. None of it's in person, and our kind of pool of applicants is also not like different because everyone's volunteer, So I think being volunteer is good, obviously, because everyone is very passionate about like doing a good job and making the server the best it can be. But it also means like they have to have an actual job outside of the server, which means they don't have as much time, as like a full-time employee.
Yeah.
So there's that. And then for like development, I mean, there's a lot that goes into that. I mean, you need to know like stuff like obviously Minecraft and the very deep understanding of everything in Minecraft. And then you need to know just the Java programming language, of course, and all the like Spigot, which is like an API that we use for coding the different custom stuff that we have. You need to know like, basic networking and stuff for people connecting to your server, and hosting and web development because we have a website and stuff. So a lot of stuff that goes into that. But so both of them are tough.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And then, so with all of that, because that sounds like that's a lot of things that you'll need to learn or know or handle. How do you handle burnout when it hits?
Yeah, I'd say probably for me, like I really like developing fun new things. I mentioned that like a big part of starting the server is just seeing like people having fun with things that I've made. And like for me, if I'm feeling burnt out, what will help me is kind of working on something that's cool, new feature, and sharing that with people and seeing people's reactions to that. For me, that's the most fun part about the server. So yeah. I think probably that.
Yeah, so it sounds like pretty rewarding, just kind of seeing people really just enjoy what you've made. That makes a lot of sense. With that being said, is there like anything that you wish that the community maybe better understood about running a server?
Yeah, I mean, so I kind of mentioned that there's a lot of stuff that goes into it. I mean, there's a lot of other stuff, like we don't make money. So, which I will say is kind of maybe a more unique thing to Advancius anyway. But yeah, there's just a lot of cost that goes into running a server. Like obviously you have to run the server, like hosting for all the different game modes that we have. Also, advertising, and we have also like multiple different proxies that all have their DDoS protection as well, because we're big enough where we need DDoS protection.
Yeah.
There's the website, which that needs its own separate hosting. We have a bunch of Discord bots, and that we pay for as well, since like we need the premium versions or whatever. So, and obviously there's other stuff like other paid plugins or software that the server needs to run. So yeah, and then sometimes, they'll just be like some person, probably like every few months or something at this point, actually get like a DM from some guy who's found some exploit on the server, and he's gonna like use the exploit or something and cause chaos for us if we don't pay him. So yes, extortion. I mean, we could probably do, I could talk a lot about that maybe another time, but yes, some crazy stuff happens sometimes. So like there's definitely always something going on. Yeah, just the fact that the server's running 24/7, you wake up sometimes, check your phone at 2 a.m. and something's on fire and you gotta fix it. I think, yeah, it's more common than you think.
Yeah. So it sounds like you're just hoping that the community realizes that there's a lot of layers behind keeping things running smoothly behind the scenes. And it's kind of never ending. It just kind of, it's 24/7, 365.
Yeah, exactly.
That makes
Yeah,
sense.
not really. And yeah, I don't even get really weekends. Like the weekends are probably the most busy time actually. So
yeah.
Yes, definitely. But it is very fun. Like when we're having fun, it is very fun. So don't want to make it seem like I'm complaining here. I also know that I'm very lucky, but sometimes it is very tough.
That makes sense. So I'm going to move us on to the next one. Let's talk about suggestions, because this comes up a lot. So How are suggestions handled? And then we have a follow-up question kind of to go off of that once we've talked about how suggestions are handled.
Okay. Yeah, I can kind of walk you through the process here. Yeah, once we get a suggestion, they come into this. This is Trello. If you don't know it, it's kind of a, I guess, planning organization website. And so there's these different columns that like have different titles, and there's these cards that you can move, and each of these cards represents a suggestion that someone's made.
Mm-hmm.
If I click this one, I can see there's, suggestion was submitted by Noah23 here, and I can click this link and see the actual Discord message. But yeah, so when a suggestion comes in here, it shows up first in this suggestions to be reviewed column. And then I will move these suggestions every couple of weeks. I'll just go through all of these. You can see we get a lot of suggestions. So, there's even more that haven't been loaded yet. Okay, so yeah, quite a lot. It's pretty close to my time to review these again. But yeah, so when they come in, then I will review them or move them to one of these columns based on what we can do. So we have some, like, these are the ones that are planned, and they're short-term and long-term based on how soon we feel that we can implement them. There is not planned. So these are things that are technically possible, but we're not going to implement them because there would be some issue with it, or, it just wouldn't make sense. Then there's like not possible, where these are just, like physically impossible for us to do. There's already been implemented ones.
Mm-hmm.
So like, for example, this one, actually, this one we can move in. This has already been implemented. And then there's also duplicate ones and joke ones, because sometimes people just make a silly suggestion that's a joke.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Okay.
for example, like I did that one, and then this one, I think this is a cool idea. So I think we can actually probably implement this pretty soon too. So move that one there, and then these tags, I guess, after I'm done moving all of these, then I'll tell a staff member, and staff member will go through and add tags to these. So when we're going to plan the update, which I can show in a second, then we know which game mode these apply to. Yeah. And then they'll also go through these suggestions and mark them on Discord, so that the people who made the suggestions, they know what the outcome of their suggestion was. Yeah. And that's pretty much that.
Okay. So cutting in here really quick, the follow-up question actually kind of, I think, plays into what you were just talking about. The community wants to know kind of what the timing and procedure for getting community-made suggestions or features implemented. And they wanted to also know the new changes if they're voted on by the staff. So I think you kind of covered a little bit onto this, but if you could explain a little bit more, I think people would be really interested in hearing.
Yeah. So once the suggestions are planned, then kind of they get marked, like I said, and then we have our own planning process for individual updates. So here's like the prison one. This is similar to Trello. We have different columns and different boards, but these are different. So these ones, actually, let's move that. But yeah, we have things that we need to kind of still work out. Then we have once they're ready to be started, they get moved over here. And then when they're being worked on, they're in progress. And then for developers that implement stuff, I go through and just do a quick check to make sure it looks good. And then we kind of have a list here for when we're making the update message. We just look through these, and I make the update message based on that. So
Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess like an example like this one specifically, this is just a copy paste from one of the suggestions that we got over here, and that got approved. And so we are working on the prison update right now. This is kind of like the flow And we'll plan to implement these, and then once we get like more details on how we're going to actually implement it, then I'll move it over here and put and kind of update this description here like that.
That makes sense. So. That makes sense. And then, so when you're looking through your suggestions, what makes a suggestion stand out to you?
I'd say we get all the suggestions are great. I think it's great that we have. We get so many suggestions, and I think it's great that we get so many. And I think it's awesome that so many people have ideas for how to help make the server better. So, I think all the suggestions are great. I think some people just have a different perspective. It's hard to, if you're just a player, know exactly what is possible and what is not, but,
Yeah. I think that makes a lot of sense. Sometimes there's just things that you wouldn't know without kind of knowing the inner workings of what's going on or what can be created realistically. So that makes a lot of sense. Has there been any suggestions that totally changed the direction of a game mode, for example?
Yeah, I'd say, pretty much everything that we do is at least inspired by a suggestion, or if not, is a just straight up a suggestion. Like even game modes like Dropper and Bed Wars and stuff, like those were all at least started off as suggestions and stuff like that. So yeah, I'd say generally, like, sometimes I'll like see a good suggestion and get a good idea off of that. The suggestion itself might not be possible, but it'll kind of like get my brain thinking, and we'll kind of go off of that and actually implement something. So
that's cool. Kind of like you take the motivation from kind of the suggestion and kind of run with it in a direction that works. So that makes sense. I think something else another call out that I think a lot of people quietly wonder about is, why do you sometimes mark suggestions as going to happen, but later switch it to not going to happen and not give an explanation?
Yeah, it's probably that we're not communicating super well. Likely we can add some better notes to our suggestion reviews. But yeah, I guess like how that happens, I can kind of showcase again here. So this one, I know Trench, we've found that actually causes lag, and there isn't really any way we can get around it. So yeah, there's kind of like two main reasons why we would do like mark a suggestion as not planned after, or kind of change our mind. There is one, it was just like never possible to begin with, and just after taking a second look at it, kind of realized it's not actually possible to do, which I don't have an example here, but this Trench one, we've kind of realized that it's not actually possible. So I can move that one to not possible, just because we've tried implementing it, and after kind of testing it, we realized that it's not possible. So
right,
so either something has changed or it was just never possible to begin with.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. Sometimes you're not going to know until you try for certain things. So with that being said, do you think players would be more understanding if updates included like reasons when maybe their suggestion or idea, like it gets scrapped if it's like not possible or, realistic?
Yeah, definitely. And I think we can work to help make that a little bit. I think, the one challenge is we get so many suggestions and we already have so much other stuff to do. So I think, we'll have to find that balance there of like not just spending all our time on suggestions, but yes, totally. I think we'll work on that.
Okay. That makes sense. So I want to wrap this up with kind of a future facing question. Where do you see Advancius in a few years? Maybe like new game modes or like new ranks?
Yeah, I did want to showcase this new page. So if you go to our website, so here's like our main website page here. There's a new link under the drop down for development plans. If you click this, kind of showcases our development plans. I noticed though that these are pretty rough. These are mostly notes. There's not a lot of detail in here. I can maybe in the future, if people are interested, let us know. I can go through a more like deep dive of all of this. But yeah, this is here for people interested in kind of what we're thinking about. There's kind of an update schedule a little bit. Also, all of this is not exact. So, take it all with a grain of salt. Yeah. But yeah, I probably, to answer the question, like this is pretty much what I'm thinking for the next few years of what I want to take things. So, if you're watching this in the future, probably some of this has already been implemented. But yeah, it does take time to implement this stuff. So, but I guess just super high level overview, again, talking about maintainability. There's different kind of types of things I want to do with maintainability. This is kind of easier maintain player base. All these things related to donation store is kind of more related to monetary maintainability, because the server costs money. I don't have infinite amount of money. So yeah, making more money and trying to be more sustainable with how we spend our money.
While also keeping it not pay to win.
Yes. Yeah, of course. Yeah, that's the main thing. You can see, high focus on pay to win with these things. Yeah. And then just kind of these, or a lot of these are related to updating old versions of game modes, and updating them to the latest version for, again, easier maintainability. Every 3 months now, Mojang is putting out a new update to Minecraft, and every update slowly breaks small things for all of these old game modes. So all of these game modes are slowly getting more and more janky. So yes, we need to update these and get those, and then kind of these last ones are more cleanup, making it easier for staff to handle things and making things a little bit more fun and cleaned up for the rest of the network. Yeah,
that makes a lot of sense.
And then got a lot of plans, and then kind of the rest of this is just about other major things. No specific timeline on these ones though. We'll just kind of do them whenever it feels good, or as part of a game mode update or something. But yeah, there's a lot of this miscellaneous stuff in here that you can go read yourself later if you're watching. But yeah, that's kind of what we're thinking about.
Just to recap, this is on the Advancius.net website under the More tab.
Yes, right there.
Development plans, right there. All right. So that was a lot to cover. And thank you so much for showing us. I just wanted to thank you again, Monkey, for, coming and sitting down and showing us all of this and explaining everything. It's been really great.
Of course. Yeah. Thanks for having me. Glad I could answer some questions.
Yeah. So this is it for episode 1 of our first Advancius Behind the Blocks. We want to give a huge thanks to everyone who submitted questions, especially the ones featured today. If your question got picked, don't forget to claim your reward with us. And really, this is just the beginning. We have more Q&A coming up. So if you didn't get an answer to your question this time, don't worry. We're definitely listening, and we see you, and we'll be back soon. Thank you so much again for being a part of the Advancius community, and we'll see you in game.